All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, the 1010XL app. Of course, we are live on Facebook. Good morning, Facebook. And we are archived all over social media. Anywhere and everywhere you listen to or watch your favorite podcast, you will see Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Make sure you visit the 1010XL YouTube channel, please, the Jaguar channel, and the overall YouTube channel. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mack, my businesses that I endorse. That's right, man. I personally endorse all 12 of them, and I love all of them, and they do a great job, and they're always there for you when you need it. Lots to get into today. Of course, Wild Card Weekend, NFL coaching hires and rumors. Our own coaching search continues. We'll talk about that. Get into the divisional round briefly at the end, and also want to throw a question out there that I threw out on social media, and we'll do it right here on the show. Now, you're probably wondering, geez, Tommy Mack, you're in a jacket, like you're in a sport coat. It's funny. I walk in the door this morning, everyone's like, hey, what's with the jacket? What's with the jacket? I'm like, I know I never wear a jacket unless I have to. Well, today I have to, unfortunately. My good friend Larry Wright has passed away, and we're going to go see and be a part of his celebration of life today. After the show, actually, I'm going to haul ass to Our Lady Star of the Sea in Ponte Vedra Beach, where my kids were baptized, where I was married with my beautiful wife, and we're going to go pay our respects to Larry Wright, a great man, an older gentleman that passed away, and been a friend for a very, very long time. He's a big friend of the J Fund, as Edie Wright, his lovely wife, works for them and is a big part of the J Fund. So thoughts and prayers in this show dedicated to Larry Wright. I met him probably 25 years ago in the YMCA. I was working the heavy bag, and he was an older guy, and he came up, and we started chatting, and he's like, I used to box, and we just had some common. He loved football. He loved the Jags. He was just a good gentleman, and I tell you, that's life, man. That's life, right? That's life. Life is life, and life is death sometimes, and, well, a lot of times, and that's what it is here today, especially with Larry Wright and his family. Thoughts and prayers out to all of them. Grammage is here. Good morning, Grammage. How are you, my friend? What a great weekend of football.
Good morning, sir. Absolutely. We were talking before we went live. Really only one game that came down to it.
Yeah.
With the Bucs and the Commanders.
Yep.
Hell of a game that one was, though.
That was.
Great way to finish off the weekend before the game last night.
Yeah.
Great. I don't know if you were watching, but great college football weekend as well.
Great college football.
Man.
That was incredible. That Ohio State, Jack
Sawyer.
What was his name?
Jack Sawyer.
Sawyer?
Yep.
Tell me he ain't a first-rounder.
What a play.
When he comes out, I don't know if he's coming out, but he's 6'4", 260.
He's a
Can
senior.
Run like that?
Yeah, he's a
Forget
senior.
about it. Someone's going to grab him. They're going to be wanting him. That was a good one. No question about that. And then we've got the national title game on Monday.
Yep.
Is that right?
Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Yeah, Notre Dame. Hey, man. Congrats. I'm not a big Notre Dame fan. It's funny. We're watching Notre Dame, Penn State on Thursday, and who are you rooting for? I'm like, nobody. I don't like either team. But I like watching big games, and that was a massive game, and hats off to Notre Dame for finding a way to get it done.
Notre Dame has to, if that game's going to be competitive, Notre Dame has to get a lead.
Yeah.
They can't really, they're not a team that plays from behind very well. They
Yep.
don't have a downfield passing game.
Yeah,
They're pretty limited in what they do vertically.
Yep.
But if they can have a lead and they can run the ball, dink and dunk, and they play
Get
great
that
defense.
quarterback running. He can run.
Yeah, he can.
That
he
kid
can.
can run, so be interesting.
But if Notre Dame can get to 7-10-0 or something like that early in the game, then it's going to be a game. If they get down, then it might be an onslaught by Ohio State.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Harry, thanks. I mentioned earlier, I got to go to a funeral later, so actually right after this, he was asking, do I have an interview with the Jaguars today? I wouldn't wear a coat. I don't think I'd wear a coat, but they're getting into it, of course. We've heard over the weekend they had some virtual interviews, so the Jaguars did. Let's see, Spagnuolo on Friday night. You had Ben Johnson on Saturday, Aaron Glenn on Saturday, Patrick Graham, Raiders defensive coordinator. More to come, of course, and we'll see how that all shakes down. I'll tell you what, I didn't watch the Rams all year. I didn't, but I like that defensive coordinator, man. I just like the aggressive play call. I mean, he got after Darnold last time. They were blitzing all over the place, and their DNs are really good. Verse and the Zero, I think his name's Jones. Man, they were really, really good. I'm surprised he's not on more lists because he seems to be a very aggressive play caller on the defensive side of the ball. Look, Liam Cohen, he's been interviewed as well, but I don't know. I mean, it's tough to – I can't say I've watched Tampa Bay all year long. I really like Baker. I think Baker's just a tough individual, and regardless of who the coach is, I think he's got enough internal fortitude where he's like, man, I'm gonna do my best to try to ball out. Resurrected, sure. I don't know how much I put that on play calling. I think it's sometimes a new scenery, new change of scene. You knew he's got all the tools, Baker does. He's shown that throughout his career, but a little resurrection for him. Obviously, Jaden Daniels was just smooth as silk against the Bucs. I want to see next year. We all get crazy with rookies, right? Quarterbacks. Wow, look at it. We did that with Stroud last year. Stroud came down a little bit. Stroud played pretty well over the weekend. You got to give him credit, man. He made some plays when he had to, and they came to life on the defensive side of the ball big time. They were all that they could handle. So. Anyway, we'll move on to the divisional playoff round. Should be pretty good. Texans at Chiefs, Ravens at Bills. Will it be the MVP race? I don't know why Lamar doesn't have it already. And I like Josh Allen. I think he's great. But they showed the stats over the weekend. Lamar's got better stats. Isn't that what it's mostly about? Or is it, hey, if he was out of the game, can they still win? Who do you say is more valuable to the team? Is that what it is? Or is it really just a popularity contest based on stats? If it is, Lamar's got him.
It's a narrative. It's a narrative-driven award.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's the fact like it shouldn't be this way, but it is, and it's this way in the NBA MVP and a lot of MVPs. It was this way with the Heisman when it comes up.
Yep.
If someone's already won it, they're at a disadvantage.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that way, but it is.
Yeah.
The fact that Lamar's won two, and Josh has not won one, and it's close,
right, gives
Josh an edge.
Yeah, shouldn't it be done after the regular season? I mean, can't you still be a most valuable player if you don't get into the playoffs or no? Do you have to get into the playoffs?
So
you know what I'm saying? Like, what if, I don't know, pick a player. I don't know who that, but Joe Burrow, great year. Phenomenal year. I don't know how his stats compare. I haven't looked that up.
They're there.
But he's phenomenal.
They're competitive.
Now, the team's not very good. Defense hasn't been very good, but Joe Burrow has been incredible all year long, right?
There's a real case, in my opinion, for Joe Burrow. Because if we're going letter of the law on what the award is called, most valuable player, you take Joe Burrow off that team this year, well, what's their they're down down here with the Jags.
Right.
They got 5 wins or whatever.
Well, what about Josh Allen? What do you say to that? I don't even know who their
similar
backup
argument.
is. Yeah. And then Lamar. Who's Lamar's backup?
I don't know.
I don't know that either. Right. So all three, if they were out of the game, that would change their team tremendously.
But I think as long as they had like other competent quarterbacks, the Ravens and the Bills would still be good.
Right.
They wouldn't be as good, obviously.
Okay, which makes Burrow even more of an MVP candidate.
And that's what I'm saying, right?
I mean,
right.
I would think. I mean, but he doesn't get into the playoffs, so that's what I'm saying. I guess it hurts you if you don't make it to the playoffs in that MVP race. I don't know. I think it should be done. Maybe MVP of the regular season, then if you win the Super Bowl, there's always a MVP for the Super Bowl.
I would vote Lamar personally.
Yeah.
If I had to vote, Lamar Jackson would be my vote.
I think so too, man.
Because
he's just had a great year.
And I think if you were to wipe all the slates clean in terms of resume, and you were to say Lamar has never won one and Josh has never won one, then I think Lamar would be kind of running away with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you shouldn't be punished because you've won an award in the past.
Right.
Right. So
agreed.
I would personally vote Lamar. It's close though. It's close.
It is very close. Those three.
Josh has been unbelievable.
I love the way that guy plays, man.
He's been unbelievable.
And whoever we get in, get Trevor to play. Trevor and Josh have some similarities in my opinion. Get him to play like that reckless abandon, but honed in. You know what I mean?
So
you got to hone it in more. And remember, when Josh was younger, he was a high-flying, whipping it around, taking chances left and right, threw a lot of picks, threw a lot of scores, but then he's honed it in, right? He's honed it in. He knows when to take that shot. He knows when not to take that shot, not 100% because we all get that emotion and you think, I can make it, and then you throw a pick, throw it into coverage. A lot of times we're saying, what are you throwing that for? He's covered. Like there's 2 on him. Sometimes you just got to throw it up. And take a chance. And a lot of guys with that arm, they're thinking, hey, I can fit it in anywhere. But it can be a blessing and a curse because you can, but the curse is when you think you can and it's not there and you still do it. That's the curse because you're not taking what's given. Now, I've never played quarterback, but, man, the best ones, that's what they do, right? Okay, I want the big throw. I want the bomb. I want the highlight play, but I'm also going to take what this defense has given me. When you get to that point, you've arrived as a quarterback in the NFL. And Darnold struggled with that last night. He could have hit a couple different routes that were open. He just didn't see them for whatever reason. Maybe looking for that big shot, that big score. But nonetheless, you got to be able to take what they give you, then hammer them with a big score when they're not ready.
That's where Mahomes is right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the reason Mahomes is so good and the reason he's so seemingly unbeatable in the playoffs is because of all the active quarterbacks, he has the best sense of when to take the shots and when to be more conservative and just take the profit.
Yeah.
And there's times and places in the game that you need to do one or the other.
Yep.
And first of all, you need to be smart enough to know what the defense is going to give you in terms of look so you can...
Pre-snap.
Right.
You got to know the pre-snap read.
And then it's also understanding, okay, it's the second quarter with 10 minutes to go and, really getting 3 here is fine, even though it's 3rd and 8. Let's get 5 yards.
Yep.
Let's get a closer field goal. Let's take the 3. Let's live to fight another drive.
Yeah.
Versus... okay, it's 4th quarter, 5 minutes to go. We need 6.
Right.
I'm zipping this in to a tighter window type of thing. It's
totally.
that sense.
Yep.
And Trevor, at times, one of my biggest criticisms of him is he has struggled with that sense.
Yeah.
There are times where I don't feel like he's fully aware of the time, situation, and
he's not.
What the best decision is in that moment.
He's shown that. I agree with that.
And
I'll tell you that, look, Grammage, I was just looking around on the weekend. I mean, his 60% completion percentage in 2024 is 35th in the league.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody's playing the full amount of games. He only played 10, but even you go down a little bit, they're at 70, 68. He's low on that. You got to be a good completion percentage thrower.
Especially in an offense that throws a lot of short passes.
Right. Well, that may change now. We'll see with the new coordinator. I don't know.
Completion percentage is definitely a stat to me where context is really important.
Yep.
Like, if you're an offense that's throwing it, that's really pushing it down the field a lot, and your completion percentage drops, well, I can live with that because it's a little more feast or famine, right?
Sure.
With 40, 50-yard bombs.
Yep.
But if you're in most offenses in today's game, there's a lot of West Coast in most offenses.
Totally.
There's a lot of 5 yards here,
Absolutely.
6 yards there.
Right. Which are high completion percentage throws. You should make those all day long.
And between, I know they both ended up hurt at the end of the year like Trevor did, but for a lot of the year, you had Ingram and Kirk.
Yep.
Those two guys should be completion percentage machines.
No doubt.
With those two dudes on your team.
Yep. When healthy, they are.
When healthy, you should have a really high completion percentage because Kirk is zoom 5 yards.
Yep.
Ingram is stick and move here 7 yards. Like that's what those guys do.
You got to because they're great at yards after the catch, right? It's not just giving the ball early; it's letting them have a chance to make a score. But that percentage has got to come up. You got to be accurate in this league. I mean, think about back in the day. Terry Bradshaw, 4 Super Bowls, 58% in completion percentage, I think, for his career. But back then, it was what? Pound the rock, play action, either a deep throw, maybe a dig, or a screen, maybe a slant. But it's not like how it is today, where you got 5 guys going out and one's at 3 yards, one's at 7, one's at, you know what I mean? It's a lot different today. But nonetheless, you got to be on point. You look at Justin Herbert. Just, 3 picks the whole year and then throws 4 in the playoffs. He was under duress from the get-go. I mean, every time he threw the ball, his arm got hit, I think.
Yeah.
You look at Darnold last night, 6 sacks in one half. I mean, I don't know. Again, I've never played QB, but how do you overcome that?
Cam Robinson did not play well.
What's that?
Cam Robinson did not play well.
No, he didn't. No, and the other tackle got his ass beat, too.
That
D-line kicked their ass last night.
Cam Robinson underperformed. That right tackle needs to update the LinkedIn profile.
I think his name's
Oh, man, he was getting killed, man.
Yeah. They drafted well. They got some good players on that team, man. And I've always liked Stafford. Even when he was Detroit getting his ass kicked, I always thought he was a tough dude. And still putting up great numbers, but
smart.
Just been on a tough team, But
I think back to the real quickly with the Bills thing and Joe Brady and Josh and him.
Yeah.
Like, to me, what I love about Joe Brady and something that would be really attractive with him being a candidate here in Jacksonville. To me, the number one thing that's really cleaned up Josh's efficiency is their commitment to the run game.
Absolutely.
James Cook is getting 4 to 5 yards a carry most games this year.
Well, what did they do, Grammage? They beefed up their old line.
Correct. Right.
Hello? Can we do that here?
Almost like the general manager and the coaching staff
are on the same page.
Having a commitment to something and being on the same page works out.
Unbelievable.
And look, when you get in a time machine and go back to 2022, when the Jags were running the ball pretty effectively, and ETN was getting 4 or 5 yards a carry, and remember JaMychal Hasty that year ran pretty well.
Absolutely.
Trevor was as efficient as he's ever been as a passer, and he played clean ball.
Just
accurate.
Remember though, if I may, and I'm sorry to cut you off, those were one read throws, first read throws, a lot of them, and he was good at them for that 1 year. But then they figured him out a little bit, I think, and then whatever they tried to adapt and change. It had, at least this year, it didn't go over very well.
Well, the running game went by the wayside.
The running game wasn't anywhere near. It looked good at times. I mean, Bigsby had a 5-yard average for a good part of the year.
Yeah.
Put the ball on the ground 3 times, but still, overall. By the way, I saw where Kyron Williams put it on the ground 6 times over the year. Well, that's a lot of fumbling, no doubt about that. I'll tell you what, Grammage, if we're going OCs to be head coaches, based on last weekend, Joe Brady's number 1 for me. I don't know. Liam Cohen, is he innovative? I think a lot of them are innovative, okay? And that's great. And we're going to talk, because the question of the day I'm coming up with, but being innovative is great. And as long as you execute, then it's great. But you got to be more than that. I don't want just some clever play caller running my team. I need more. And if I'm going based off performance, and Todd Monk could throw him in there too with now granted, when you got Lamar and you got Henry, and Henry gets going, you can't stop Henry, man. He's just such a beast. What an asset to have. But I don't know. I'm not putting Cohen up there. Obviously, Ben Johnson's had a great couple of years as the OC. We'll see there. But here's the question, Grammage, and I want you to chime in. And if you're out there in Facebook land, I appreciate everybody chiming in on Facebook. Good morning to you. What's more important for the Jacksonville Jaguars right now? Is it a coach that comes in and changes the culture, right? Winning, grit, tough, disciplined, don't make mistakes, that kind of thing. Or someone to come in to, quote-unquote, fix Trevor or get Trevor more developed. I know you people out there, you don't need fixing. He needs some fixing, trust me. He does. But he's got all the I'll say it again, we can win with Trevor, but he's got to hone in all this talent. Good morning, Mark. So what's more important? I want both. So if one of these, Monken or whoever, Ben Johnson, if they come in, fix up Trevor, clean him up, and bring the right structure and culture, that kind of thing, great. But let's say you can't have that right now because we don't know. You don't know. I don't care where Ben Johnson comes from. You don't know what kind of head coach he's going to be. I don't care where Joe Brady comes from. You don't know what kind of head coach. Hey, I would, compare McDermott to Campbell. Campbell's more rah-rah in your face, but McDermott's a disciplinarian. I mean, he takes no grief, you know what I mean? So you would assume that if you assume that Ben Johnson's going to bring everything from Detroit, including the culture down here, then you got to assume Joe Brady would do the same thing. And it's pretty close in culture. You know what I mean? So what for you would – I know what mine – you know what mine is. Fix the culture. And hopefully Trevor can fix his game. And hopefully you get a nice offensive coordinator, whoever it is, that can help with that. But you got to change the culture here in Jacksonville. You got to change it. You got to flip it like a pancake, man. It's like the other side needs to be cooked, and it's nowhere near cooked. It's soft and doughy and not tough enough. So I don't know. What do you think, Grammage? What direction would you go?
We normally agree on things, Tommy.
Yeah.
We disagree on this.
Okay. Tell me why.
I believe, and I saw you tweet about it. I saw a lot of people saying both.
Yeah.
And it kind of bothered me when people were replying both because it's like, obviously we
want
both.
You'd want both.
Like, obviously, if we have the crystal ball that can pick the person that's going to give us both, that's the guy, of course. Yep. But But I understood the point of you asking the question is like, what should be the bigger priority in interviewing the candidates? What should be at the top of the list? This needs to be the number one thing, come hell or high water, that I know you can do as a head coach. To me, it's you got to fix Trevor.
Okay.
And I know.
Why does that fix the culture, though? Because let's just say you fix Trevor, but the culture doesn't change. Yeah. We're going to end up like Joe Burrow. I mean, we're going to. So what? Trevor fixed them, but what about the rest of the team?
Yeah. So
and in all fairness, you put the 2024 season into a pot. It's the defense that let us down the most.
I agree,
without question.
I agree.
So I want Trevor to become this. I mean, come on, it's going to be year 5. I mean, you got to do it now or never, right? I mean, 5, 6, 7, maybe. But year 5, man, you should be rocking. You should know everything. You should see. You should just be in tune with everything. So when people said fix Trevor and the rest will happen, I don't agree with that. Because how are you going to fix the culture just by fixing the quarterback? Now, if the quarterback's just rah-rah in your face, MFing guys, hey, man, look what I'm doing. Here's my culture. Follow along. Different story. But Trevor's not like that.
Yeah.
He's not that kind of guy, or hasn't shown that he's that kind of guy.
So I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just feel like of the single most important individual to the Jacksonville Jaguars moving forward for the foreseeable future is still Trevor Lawrence. First overall pick. They just paid him all that money. They just committed to him for the long haul to be the franchise guy. I think
maybe not the right move. May have not been the right move. We don't know yet.
So my opinion is if it's not the right move, then this franchise is in serious trouble.
Big time
regardless.
trouble. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. For years.
And so that's, to me, has to be the number one priority.
Okay,
because even if – I totally get what you're saying.
Well, then he's got to change his attitude then.
I don't disagree.
You know what I mean? He's got to be more, let's go, man. Let's bring it together. Let's put some pressure on each other. Let's not brother-in-law each other. A lot of brother-in-law last year. You know it.
Yeah.
No big deal. We lost. So well, we're getting paid. We're going out tonight. Who cares? You know what I mean? No, there was a ton of brother-in-law going on. I mean, that's what happens when you're 4-13.
And I don't disagree with that at all. I feel like if the team picks it up in terms of like the defense gets better, they've got better culture and whatever, and they're a better team around him, but he's still struggling.
Yep.
That is more problematic than the reverse. I would rather, like trust me, I would rather if Trevor's playing at the level that Joe Burrow is and this team's in the playoffs and of course.
Yeah.
But I'll live with that more than I'll live with the rest of the team starting to pick it up, but he's really struggling.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because I just think Trevor is more important than getting the GM right. He's more important than getting the head coach right. He's more important than fixing the defense. Like, that guy getting it right is the most important individual that has to get it right in this entire franchise. So to me, the number one priority...
To save the franchise, maybe?
Pretty much. Okay. What did Josh Allen do with the Bills?
I know.
He saved the franchise. Like you're absolutely right. Sean McDermott has the culture. And again, we obviously are in agreement that we want both.
They got the players, too. That O-line's mean and nasty.
But there were multiple years, not as much now. I think they've got a squad now.
Yep.
There were a couple of years there where Josh Allen had to just put the Bills on his back and go ball out.
Yep.
Joe Burrow's done that now multiple times. And if you have that franchise guy, which we all believe Trevor has it in him to become that, whether we believe he's that or not now is immaterial. Has he carried
the team yet?
No. He's never carried the team.
I don't think so either.
And he was drafted and paid.
Were like, he's carried the team. I'm like, I don't. When?
And he was drafted and paid to be someone to carry the team.
Right.
So that's a very fair criticism, in my opinion.
Yep.
Because saying it's not all his fault is fair.
Yeah.
But these other guys that are paid the same way, drafted the same way, rise above that. Josh Allen rises above it. Patrick Mahomes has always been a good situation. So it might not be fair, but Joe Burrow rises above. I just think if you get Trevor to playing at that level, which we all believe he's capable of within him to do so, then it's not to say the rest will just take care of itself, but the rest is an easier fix than him.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
I don't know. No, I don't know if it's an easier fix because you do got to. I mean, changing culture is going to take some time. I'm not saying
it's not an easy fix. It's
you
an
can
easy
do it in the
fix.
first year for sure, based on who you bring in and who's going to hold each other accountable. I get what you're saying.
It's not an easy fix. It's an easier fix.
Yeah.
Because if
Trevor's an easier fix or the culture?
No, the culture is an easier because and more personnel
based
and defense
on who you
or whatever.
bring in.
Right.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but Vrabel going to the Pats, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, 100%.
There ain't no screwing around with Vrabel. There ain't no fun and games. Get me on TikTok, get me on Instagram. Let's build up my brand. It's all about football.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another question I just thought of. Should guys on NFL teams, especially guys that are getting paid the big bucks, should they have a side hustle during the season?
Should
Eric Armstead, should they have a side hustle during the season? Eric Armstead does his podcast. Anton Harrison does his cooking thing. To me, I'd be like, guys, get rid of that shit, all right? Do that in your off season. Let your wife handle it if you got to be on Instagram, but you're here to play football. Your job is a professional football player, so do that and let everything else. Do it after. Become a chef after. Become a podcaster when your career's done. I don't know. And I know a lot of guys do it, don't get me wrong. And if we're winning, we probably don't care. But when you're losing, you care. So something's got to change. I wouldn't like any of that. I'd be like, guys, that's enough. Get in the weight room, get in the study, rest your body, forget all this other stuff. Especially when we're not playing well, you look like a fool. It's coming together. It's not coming together. You're 4-13. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Come on, man. You're living a fantasy, live in the real world, live in reality, and play some football like you're contracted to do.
If I had to hear Eric Armstead tell us not to panic one more time.
I don't even listen to that.
Oh, my God.
Because all you got to do is look on the field and see what happens. Back to the culture. I think if you change the culture, Trevor will get better. I think Doug was more, we'll get him next time. I don't know if he was afraid to hold the quarterback accountable. Sometimes, and I'm not saying that's going on inside the organization, but sometimes you got to hold that, you got to, carry that QB with kid gloves. Hey, man, you can't be too hard on him. You know what I mean? I don't know if Trevor's like that or not, but Doug was not hard on anybody. It didn't seem. He didn't hold anybody accountable. It was all, we'll get him next time. We'll get him next time. So if a coach comes in and says, fuck next time, go back to Rocky 3, there is no tomorrow, Rock. You know what I mean? Screw all that. We're fixing it now. And if you don't get it right, I'm going to figure out someone that can. Now, granted, you can't do that with Trevor because of the contract. Which, again, they fucking better be right because it's going to set this franchise back for years. And I don't care who you bring in. If he doesn't work out the way you should, and look, he's got all the potential to do it. He's got all the tools to do it, physically anyway, and he's tough. So I'll give him that. But he's got to fix his game big time. So to me, I think the culture change would make him change. I think Doug was too lax. From the outside looking in, I think Doug was just too lackadaisical in terms of putting that discipline on his players. He didn't want to do it. Again, it goes back to that old tough love. I grew up in a tough love era. I appreciated the tough love. It was all about love with accountability. But it wasn't like my dad's going to bail me out every single time. Mommy's going to bail me out. Or it's always going to be the teacher's fault or the coach's fault. It was never that. I can remember my dad saying to me, a young age, in grammar school, I was like, the teacher don't like me. He goes, sit down. I said, yes, sir. He goes, let me tell you something. There's not a teacher in America, or maybe even the world, that doesn't like a kid that sits still, pays attention, does his homework on time, and doesn't cause problems inside the classroom. It's not the teacher. It's you. I was like, you're right. Yes, sir. You know what I mean? But today, a lot of people from that tough love era went the opposite way. Oh, no, you're too hard on Jimmy or Lucy. A little sissy can't be yelled at. Oh, you can't, no, it wasn't her. It wasn't her fault. No, that's got to go away. So Doug, to me, is the guy that grew up in tough love but went the opposite way because he thought it was too hard, too tough. I tell you what, I'm doing a talk on this next week. I'm in Atlanta. We got to bring tough love back, and it's all about the love with true accountability. So for me, I want the culture change, And I think everything else will fall into place. Now, you bring in a head coach with experience at DC. Part of that interview is, what are you doing for the quarterback? It's critical. So if I bring in, I don't know, name a defensive coach, Brian Flores, who I think would totally change the culture. I'm a little concerned with how he handles quarterbacks based on the Tua stuff, but they seem to like him up in Minnesota. So maybe he's learned from that. But he would absolutely change the culture. However, I got to know, what are you doing with Trevor? How you fixing him? Who's your quarterback coach? Who's your OC? Who's calling plays? I need all this stuff. You know what I mean? Before I could say, okay, I'm down with that. The problem with our owner, I think, he loves the celebrity pick. You know what I mean? He loves the Urban Meyer, Doug Pierre. He'll probably hire Tony Baselli as EVP because it's a sexy celebrity type pick. And I'm not saying Tony can't do the job. Maybe he can. I have no idea. I don't know if he knows yet if he gets in there at all. But to me, that would be Hall of Famer, right? First pick. Regardless if he's really good at what he's doing, it's a sexy pick. People will like it. You know what I mean? So that's my 2 cents. Now, granted, he would have picked Tebow then, I guess, if I was right. Right? He would want Tebow way back when he was first coming out. But I think he gets caught up in that celebrity, and he'll go with the hot guy, whether he believes he can turn it around or not. But that's with an owner, in my opinion, that's not in tune with what it takes to make a very successful NFL football organization.
If that were the route they were to go, I think the example you'd want to follow is what the Commanders are doing right now.
Yeah.
Bring in Dan Quinn, a head coach, former head coach, DC, toughness, culture. Who do you bring in as OC?
I know.
Cliff Kingsbury, former NFL head coach, has worked with Kyler Murray, was phenomenal as a college coach and OC. Worked with all these great young quarterbacks and put them in the best situation to succeed. Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes, That's the if we go that way, that's the formula.
That's the formula, right? Which can work.
Yes.
So I actually like that formula because you're gonna change the culture with the Dan Quinn, and then you bring in an innovator and a good play caller and a good quarterback developer in Cliff Kingsbury, and now you got a match.
Because if you were to say, okay, everything in Washington's the exact same. Yep. Dan Quinn's the head coach. You draft Jaden Daniels, all that, right? You got the same weapons, everything. But instead of Cliff Kingsbury, you've got Press Taylor. Are they having the same season? Are they in the playoffs at all?
Right. I
would we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. I would probably say no.
Right.
And the conversation on Jaden Daniels and how he would be pretty different probably.
Yep.
Look at Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
They did not have a good answer at offensive coordinator.
No.
And
their line sucked too.
He was spinning around all year.
I know.
They didn't have anything in place.
Yep.
And
I think they should go Pete Carroll, the Bears. I really do, man. Settle it down a little bit. And he's not going to be there for 5 years, but maybe 3. I don't know if he wins you a championship, but I think he'd settle it down a bit.
Sort of a Doug Peterson-ish hire, kind of. Although
I think he's got more accountability in him.
And Pete's not an offensive guy, so I guess it's a little different. But just in terms of has some past success, has a resume, has been there before, done that.
Right.
You should. One would hope they could hire. I think Doug's biggest downfall, in my opinion, he didn't hire good enough staff. He never did.
Fair enough.
He never
hired Nielsen, because now I'm hearing conflicting reports.
Either way,
we heard it initially with Balky. Balky wanted Nielsen. Doug, I guess, had to take him. Then you hear, no, Doug wanted Nielsen, but Nielsen was awful. His defense was awful.
Who knows? The bottom line is he was the DC, and then we know Mike Caldwell was Doug's DC, and I don't think Mike Caldwell was that bad. I think they made him the scapegoat, but they made him a scapegoat.
They did.
So if you're going to say after 2 years, this side of the ball is the problem, this is what the issue is, well, then you got to hire someone better, and you got to improve in year 3.
You're right, Grammage. You take that from a culture standpoint, regardless of the head coach. Say the head coach is like Doug. Well, then your assistants got to be demanding.
Yes.
And they're not. Some may be, but most aren't. I'll look at that. The wide receiver coach for the Jags, he ain't demanding it for nothing.
Chad Hall, yeah.
He just, whatever. Guy makes a mistake. Oh well. But that's Doug. You know what I mean? So if you're going to be like that, you better have a staff full of animals that are going to hold everybody accountable, and whether they like it or not, they're going to do that.
Probably whether it's a coordinator or it's a position coach, probably get someone in who's a little bit older, has more experience. Like I believe in that strongly too. Like we talked about this last week with Sean McVay hiring Wade Phillips when he was new. Like I believe strongly if you were to bring in a first time guy, even if it's on defense, Aaron Glenn, Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, any of these guys we're talking about, if you're a first time head coach, especially if you're younger, I believe strongly in getting someone on your staff in some way, associate head coach, whoever, that's older and has been a head coach before, that is going to believe in your message and knows how to discipline guys and hold people accountable to your point, regardless of who's the coach. I don't care who it is.
No, I know.
And I think that we're hitting on this on the same thing. Whatever you are as a head coach, whatever you bring, do you bring that accountability? Do you bring the offensive mind, whatever? The first hire you have to make has to be whoever can do the stuff that you don't.
Right. Or be a buffer. Because it's funny, my linebacker coach, just going back to under Coach Coughlin, you could tell when Coughlin just got done ripping the staff because he'd come into the meeting just pissed off.
Yeah.
But there would also be times where if Tom yelled at you personally, he would come over and be like, all right, it's okay. Just focus on what you got to do. Don't worry about that too much, you know. He's just doing what he does. You know what I mean? You got to have that kind of interaction with your player. So if your coach is too hard, you got to have a little buffer to smooth it out. If he's too soft, you got to have a buffer to make it tougher. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think so.
And that's the whole point. I feel like that's what we're talking about. Like you need, whatever you are, you need either the coordinator on the opposite side of the ball or associate head coach or however you want to do it needs to be what you're not.
Yeah, I agreed.
So that you have the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
And that comes toughness and accountability, and that also offense. Defense, that's again, Dan Quinn, if he doesn't have a Cliff Kingsbury, innovative, knows what to do with the quarterback type of who knows how Jaden Daniels would have been this year?
Yeah.
Who has any clue?
True.
Gerard Mayo and
Drake May.
And Drake May, but I'm saying like Gerard Mayo didn't have that.
Right.
They didn't have a great OC like that. And the Eberflus from Chicago didn't have a great answer at OC.
No, he didn't.
And both of those rookies really struggled and didn't play well.
Got to have it. How about this, throwing it out there? You go with Aaron Glenn, and he brings in John Gruden as your OC.
Oh, man. I don't know about that.
He's innovative. He's an innovative play caller. Always has been.
Yeah.
John Gruden's considered one of the best offensive minds. He's got his issues.
Do you think he'd come in as just an OC?
I don't know. Nobody's knocking on his door for a head coaching job right now. I don't think. You know what I mean? Would Rex Ryan become a DC somewhere? He wanted to be the head coach of the Jets.
He's like begging for that job. It's weird.
Bad doing it.
It's kind of embarrassing.
You got to let them come to you, man. You know what I mean? And you can put it out there, but you can't be, so.
I also don't know. Tell me if you agree with this. His whole thing is the toughness, accountability, all that, right?
Yep. I
don't know how you can do what he's doing on TV, and in my opinion, kind of make a fool of yourself because you want the job so bad on Get Up or First Take.
Yeah.
And then come in a locker room and be toughness, no nonsense guy.
Right.
When all you've done is nonsense for the last 6 months on TV.
Right. No, right.
That seems like talking out of both sides of your mouth, right? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, the country club days are over.
Yeah.
Bro, you're living in country club days right now.
That's right. You're not even there either.
Getting up, sitting in front of a camera on Get Up and doing whatever. Like, come on, man. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm with you on that one. Mike McCarthy let go of the Cowboys. Interesting. Deion Sanders got the call from Jerry Jones. I could see Deion in Dallas. I would hate for him to leave Colorado because what he's building there, and those kids are just going to be like, oh, what? I got to go you know what I mean? They might not stay. It's just going to be a problem, but he could be an intriguing coach. I think he's got accountability. I do. I think he disciplines his players, but then he also relates to them in a way that gets them to want to be accountable. That's part of it. It's not always the bang, bang, bang. You got to have guys that want to hold themselves accountable. So I always talk about you got to fill that locker room with the kind of guys that you want on your team, not just talent, but do they really care
And I think
they really care. And I said that before. I really question the locker room. Not all the guys, because plenty of guys that do care, but there are too many that I bet you didn't give two shits about their performance.
And I think
you can't win with that.
I think back to the point that you were making about guys having side hustles during the season and podcasts and all that. Like, that's just the world we live in now. And I think Dion is the type of dude that knows how to handle things like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that was him. Yeah. He was a flashy player.
Oh, without a doubt.
He was flashy. He did whatever. But when it came time to ball, and not just this is important to know about Dion, and I think this is part of the reason he's had at least decent success at Colorado. Yep. It wasn't just Saturdays and Sundays that he balled,
right?
Because he was just such a great player, that he was such a gifted athlete. That dude worked
absolutely
at his craft.
Yep.
That dude was as competitive as it gets on the practice field.
Yep.
I want to beat you on the practice field, and that made him so great.
Yep.
And he demands out of his, like Travis Hunter.
Yep.
He's got a podcast and he does stuff or whatever during the season. He also just won the Heisman Trophy.
Right.
Because he's elite on both sides of the ball.
Right.
If you didn't have a coach that was making you be accountable and showing up to work when it's time to work and doing what you need to be doing, there's no way he'd be that good.
Right.
So I think that matters.
I think it matters too. I mean, look, Anton Harrison had a down year. He didn't have a bad year, just didn't have as good a year as you thought he was going to have. Is he distracted? Eric Armstead didn't have a good year. Didn't barely do anything. I mean, that would just bother me as a head coach. I'd be like, get off the podcast. Start playing better, and you can go back on. Not that I can control that, but that would be my message. You guys sit there on your podcast talking about this great blah, 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 and your team sucks. You look like a bunch of idiots, in my opinion.
You know what you can't control,
now,
though?
If you back it up with great play, hey, coach, I can handle it. You see me. You see I perform. You see me make it. I can handle this. I can do my own podcast and do it away from the stadium, away from the game, away from the team, and I can handle it. Maybe you'll be all right there in my book, but not when the team's struggling and you're not playing well.
Well, I totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry, Dion. You going back to Dion?
No.
What about Mike McCarthy? Would you give a shot here? I don't think so either. I feel like the brand new fired. You know what I mean? Like, they're fired for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't want them. Maybe take a year off, figure it out. Like, you got to wonder, will Doug Peterson get a gig right away as maybe an OC?
So. I don't think so.
He's not going to get a head coaching job, but would he? Maybe he doesn't have. Well, he doesn't have to because he's getting paid by Shad regardless, right? That guaranteed money.
But I think if he was, I mean, have you heard one time one team has interviewed him and talked to him or anything? I mean, he got fired on Black Monday.
Yeah. Right.
He's been fired since the season ended.
That's true.
When all these other guys have been getting interviews and whatever, I mean, one team has already hired their coach.
Yeah.
And he hasn't interviewed with anybody. So
no, I know.
I think I'm really curious to see kind of what ends up. Maybe next year if he gets a couple interviews or if he goes back to being an OC. Or I'm really curious what kind of the deal is going to be with that.
I feel the same with Mike McCarthy as I do Robert Saleh. And I hear that people in the building really like him. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm not saying that, but I don't think he's head coach material. I just don't. I think he's a great DC.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a great head coach.
Is there a world where we can get him at DC here?
Possibly.
I mean, love
look,
that.
what's your way back in for him? You're not going to get another head coaching gig.
No.
Based off your track record. That's why I don't think Doug will either. Maybe after a year because he's won a Super Bowl and you can say, he just had a bad year and, he's going to change. It's good for whatever. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't feel that good about Robert Saleh unless he's our defensive coordinator.
So what about this then? Because we just talked about how important it is that whatever, like, you need to hire your counterpart effectively, right? Like, that's the most important thing you're going to do when you first get there, right?
Yeah.
So let's say it's down to, let's say Ben Johnson takes some other job or whatever.
Okay.
Because I think that's kind of everybody's favorite or whatever. So let's say it's down to Liam Cohen and Joe Brady.
Okay.
Okay, and they're close. And
I'm taking Joe Brady for my opinion.
But say Shad and Trent and Tony and whoever's making that decision, say those two are neck and neck, right? Interviews are great, whatever.
Right.
And one of them tells you, hey, I've talked to Robert Saleh.
Right.
And if I take this job, he's coming as my DC.
D coordinator, sure.
I
think you got to come in with that kind of plan.
And is that sold? Does that push you over the? In my opinion, it would.
If it's Brady, especially.
In my opinion,
Cohen. And I might even put Monken above Cohen. You know what I mean?
But what about
Todd
those
Monken,
guys?
Robert Saleh, that could be a nice one too.
But that's kind of what I'm saying. Like say Brady and Monken, their DC would be, a linebackers coach somewhere right out of their elevating or whatever. But Cohen says I can bring in Saleh as my DC.
That would be a game changer.
To me, it's like complete game changer.
If you don't have your DC in your pocket, you're not going to do well in the interview.
Yeah.
Because you got to ask, well, who's my core? If I bring you in, who's my DC?
And I want someone, offense or defense, depending on who comes in and the other side of the ball, whatever. I want that coordinator hire to be someone that shakes the snow globe a little bit. I'm a little sick of, to be perfectly honest, I'm a little sick of the linebacker coach that gets elevated or the one-time coordinator somewhere like Nielsen or I want somebody that's been there, that's done that. I want
a proven coordinator.
Yes, man.
Is
it Vance Joseph?
Yeah, Vance would be great.
I want him.
But is he going to leave Denver?
No. That's just an example. But I want someone like that,
like a vet,
Flores or whoever. Like, and I'm not saying specifically these guys, but I want someone I've heard of with a track record. That the defensive players on the team right now that are going to be back are like, oh, yeah, that's somebody.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I think it's going to be a heck of an off season. And I do think the culture needs to change for sure. I think the quarterback's got to get a lot better, but he ain't the only one. You go look at these playoff teams. We'll get in the divisional round in just a minute, but their O&D lines are pretty good overall. They got some beef. They got some nastiness. They get after the quarterback. They protect their quarterback. Not all of them, but for the majority, you got to have that. I mean, you could talk Mahomes all day long, and rightfully so, but he's got a really good O-line. He's got a really good D-line. And that means something. You look at Burrow, he's got incredible weapons, and got not a good defense. We got Trey Hendrickson, who won this, sack title. But you need more, but he still shows up and gets the job done. So, look, it's going to be an interesting offseason, but exciting because there'll be a lot of news coming out, and we get a new direction. And look, whoever they hire, I'm behind. Now, I may sit there in the beginning and be like, I wouldn't have taken him, but at the end of the day, I'm going to pull for him because all I want is our team to win. That's it. I want our team to win for this city because it makes everything better. Everybody's happy. By the way, people are rude out there, and you're pissing me off. I mean, how many times am I going to let you in on your car and you don't wave? Like, that just bothers me I don't have to let you in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in my car.
Sounds
I'm in
like something
traffic.
must have happened this morning.
Yeah, it did happen this morning. I let you in. I'm letting you in. Not even a wave. You're like, why? I give them the old, in my mind anyway, because it bothers the heck out of me. I just don't like rude people. Why be rude?
Yeah.
And why walk around like you're some faux pas tough guy? It bothers me. Be nice. It's better to be nice, in my opinion. All right, we'll get into the divisional round and wrap this show up. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mac. Please check out TommyMac.net. You'll see all the great sponsors, all the great team members of Team Tommy Mac. Carpetman Flooring, Morgan & Morgan, Fields Cadillac, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling, Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, Azar Sausage, Family Tradition Specialty Foods, Newmark Phoenix Realty Group, Freedom Finance, Code Ninjas, Salt Air Inn and Suites, and Michael Nickus' State Farm Agency. They're great people and great businesses, and they will take care of you. If you go to TommyMac.net, just click on their logo. It'll take you right to their respective website. And, of course, I tag them all on Facebook. Please check them out. When I post, if you hit their little tag, their little handle, it'll take you to their Facebook page and other pages. They are absolutely fantastic. All right, divisional round. Here we go. Texans at Chiefs, Ravens at Bills, Washington at Lions, Rams at Eagles. Which game will be most compelling? Now, typically, the divisional playoff rounds are close, right? Typically. They, because, the best of the best, it's winding down. You're going to get some really close games. I think the Chiefs are going to handle the Texans. Although if I'm Houston, I'm flipping a coin between the two edge rushers and who gets to go against Jawan Taylor, because I'd want that all day long if I could rush a passer. They're good on the inside, though. Humphrey, number 65, is a beast guard who will probably be a high free agent. But I gotta think the Chiefs. You think Chiefs, are they going to be rusty? I don't know. They've done this before. Last year they went on the road, though. It's a little different, right? They went on the road. They beat Buffalo. They beat Baltimore. And then they had Miami, was it? Miami first, and then those two?
They had Miami first in that, like, insanely cold game.
Right.
Where Mahomes' helmet, like, cracked because it was so cold.
Yeah, they're freezing.
And they won the 2 on the road.
Ravens and Bills are going to be dynamite. That's going to be just a dynamite game. I can't wait to see that one.
That should be the best game of the NFL season to watch. Like, Super Bowl included. That should be, like, the best game. Like, get your popcorn ready.
I think so. Yeah, I'm looking at them now. Like, it's funny. You see games from last week, you're like, the hope, but then you got to come into reality. You know what I mean? If the Rams defense can control Saquon Barkley, got a chance. But that's a big if. By the way, that run that he knelt like he slid on, to end the game, that was sick. He's incredible. I mean, there's nobody catching his ass. All he needs is a crease. Oh, man, the Giants got to be kicking themselves in the ass for letting that guy go. He is absolutely insane. But can they do that? I don't know. I don't think the Rams will be able to hang. But we'll talk about it later in the week. Washington, I like the Lions because Brunell's there, so I'm going to be pulling for the Lions. But I really like Washington. I really like Jaden Daniels. I just think he's just a cool customer. It doesn't seem like he gets rattled too much, but I think every QB does get rattled. He just shows it a little bit better. But I do like him. I don't like the Texans at all, although I do give them credit for last week. I thought the Chargers were going to take care of them, but they didn't. And Herbert got killed. I mean, that D-line killed him. You better upgrade that offensive line if you're Jim Harbaugh, that's for sure. I think the Lions will take him. Bills, Ravens, baby. If you don't stop the train of Derrick Henry, you're not beating Baltimore. I don't care who you are. I really don't think you can, because Lamar's going to beat you too.
I don't think you can beat Baltimore if you let them get a lead on you.
Well, then they just pound the rock, and
Correct.
Then if you don't stop him, forget about it.
Correct. I think they're too multi-dimensional. They can beat you in too many ways. Where if they are at a point in a game where the entire playbook's wide open, I think they're basically unbeatable. You have to get on them early. You have to get a lead. You have to get up.
Defense too. Let's not forget they got a pretty damn good
Correct.
defense. Yeah.
So the blueprint to try to beat them and get a chance is you got to get up on them 7-0, 10-0, or whatever, and make them have to throw it more often, and then you have a chance. But if they get a lead on you, it's like the Niners were last year.
Yeah, right.
When the Niners got a lead,
forget it.
You can't beat them. They're literally unbeatable. So it's the same thing.
All right, divisional round. Let's look ahead to Super Bowl. Who's in it?
Detroit and Kansas City. That's pretty chalk, I know, but
I have a feeling the Eagles are going to get there.
Really?
I do. I don't know, man. I think they've got something. I think the Lions. Don't get me wrong. The Lions are great. They are great, and I don't see many cracks in their armor, except their defense. Their defense, although has played well, even with all the injuries, it's going to be tough outing. So, I think I'm going to go Eagles and Bills. Can the Bills beat the Chiefs? And I'm all for a three-peat. Don't get me wrong. If you three-peat, that's incredible. I know a lot of people. I don't want the three-peat. If it happens, I'm gonna celebrate it. Like, you know how hard that is to do? 3 years in a row to win the Super Bowl. It's not just talent; it's culture and talent. And Andy Reid has got the right culture.
I also think too the Chiefs, for the most part, and I kind of understand if people are like sick of the Taylor Swift thing and all that, but for the most part, man, like the Chiefs' main characters, Andy Reid, Mahomes, like people are just, I think, mostly just sick of them because they're good. When the Patriots were in their there was like genuine unlikable stuff about them.
Yeah,
they had some allegations, and the Spygate was going on at the time, and then like
Deflategate,
and then like Belichick was just always snarky and just rude, and like I think there was real reason outside of just them winning to not be fans of them. This team's just good.
I liked them. I did. I liked the Pats.
Not.
Man, I did. I liked them a lot because again, it's hard to do that. It's really hard to do that. I remember when they played Atlanta for the Super Bowl. It was 28-3 at halftime, and everybody in my house, because I'm the only one that was pulling for the Pats to win. Everyone was going nuts. They were going nuts. I said, all they need is a halftime adjustment. Just take it easy. And then little by little, coming back. And they all shut up when it was over. And I didn't boast. I was like, I just thought the Pats would get it done because they're put together, man. They've got a full team. So if the Chiefs can do it, back to your Taylor Swift comment. Look, you may not think this is anything, but I do. The way they handled her shows that they're a mature team.
Yeah.
And Kelsey shows that he's a mature guy. Because think about it. Can you imagine dating probably the most famous woman in the world right now?
Oh, most famous person.
Person in the world right now. And you're keeping it together? You know what I mean? Like, you're still performing at a high level. You're not sitting there going, oh, I'm going to go lay with her, lay around. You know what I mean? I don't mean all sexual stuff, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to go hang out with her. She's going to fly me here. And she does. But he still comes and plays at a high-intensity level and at a great level. So, to me, that says a lot about the team itself. They didn't get their head up in the clouds like a team we knew a year ago here in Jacksonville. They kept it all, under wraps and did a good job. And look at them now. So I think they handled that really well. And you know what? I can see Andy Reid going to Kelsey and being like, it would be really cool if you dating Taylor Swift wasn't a distraction for our team. You know what I mean? I can see Andy being like, all right, this is cool. I'm glad you're dating her. But let's show them that you're still one of the best in the game. You know what I mean? I love the way that guy coaches. And I'm telling you, I'll go back to last year when he bumped Kelsey on the sideline after he threw his helmet. That's a superstar player. A lot of coaches would be afraid to confront that. He wasn't.
I don't think Doug Peterson would do that.
No, Doug would run the other way. He'd be like, I don't want no part of that.
He wouldn't talk to him.
No. I love Andy Reid. So can we get something like that to change the culture?
It'd be Press Taylor sitting next to him with a Surface Pro.
Yeah, right. Let's talk it over.
I hate that. I hate that stuff, man.
Anyway, we're hoping for bigger and better things here in Jacksonville. And for all you out there trying to, what code, what's 7 openings right now? I don't know. It's going to be fun. Look, I want to see the Cowboys take Deion. I do. I think it would be great for the league. I think it would be great in general. I think Deion's a really good coach. I feel bad for the Colorado players, but, that's life, man. That's life of a coach. Where does McCarthy end up? Look, they're kind of in a similar situation, right? The Bears. What's more important for them, getting Caleb Williams right or changing their culture? I don't know what happened to them. Remember, their defense was so good early in the year, the Bears. They kicked the crap out of us, but even before they were ranked in the top 5 or 10 on points allowed, and then it just crumbled.
I think it's like anything else, man. This happens with the Steelers a lot because they always have a great defense.
Yep.
I think as the year, it's not just as games wear on, as years wear on, and injuries mount, and things, eventually, if an offense just can't do anything and they can't pick up first downs and they can't score, the defense eventually just wears down. It doesn't mean they're quitting, but it just means, like, at some point, man, when the other side of the ball can't pick it up, that wears. I don't care who you are, that wears on you. I mean, you look at the Ravens game the other night with the Steelers-Ravens. T.J. Watt didn't do a whole lot.
No, he didn't.
If that game was week 4,
yep,
T.J. Watt's probably got 3 sacks and he's killing people and he's got a strip sack and he's probably, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But eventually, Russell Wilson and George Pickens not being able to figure it out is going to wear on.
Get rid of Russell. He's done. I'm done with him. I still think he cares more about his look and brand than he does actual playing. In Fields, I don't know what you're going to do with him.
And all that aside, I just don't know if Russell Wilson's that good anymore.
Would you take Tomlin here if they let him go?
Yeah.
I would too, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of Steeler fans, well, he doesn't win the big games of play, whatever. But, I mean, look, I really think at this point in our organization in Jacksonville, you got to get something steady. You got to stop the slide. You got to change the culture. You know what I mean? Doug was fine after Urban because Urban was a shit show. We all know that. But then that wore off, and his style wore off. I think, look, you got to get a guy in here that's you can't. And look, I mentioned tough love earlier. It's all in the delivery, right? It's not this, my way or the highway. That doesn't really work in today's game, I don't think. But you can still have that principle with a better delivery, and a softer delivery, but it's still there.
Tomlin doesn't yell and scream.
I bet he does on occasion.
Well, right, but on occasion, sure.
Yeah,
but
not totally. Yeah.
Publicly, we don't see him during a game yelling and screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
But we see him.
He'll confront his players, though. The standard, I'll tell you what, how about our when our offense is sucking, our defensive players start yelling at the offensive players. That would be a good thing. You don't see that at all. You know what I mean? Like, what the bump are you bumping doing? Get a first down, jerk. You know what I mean? Like, we're sick and tired of carrying your ass.
Or the opposite.
Or the opposite, right? I don't know. We got to change the culture, and I think everything will fall into place, including the play of our quarterback, in my opinion. But it's been a great show. I appreciate all of you hanging out today. And again, I want to dedicate this show personally to my friend Larry Wright, who passed away, and his beautiful family, his wife Edie. I'm headed from here going to the funeral, and just God bless you, sir. You're a good man, a good friend, and I always enjoyed spending the time that we did in the past. So, hey, that goes out to anybody out there grieving right now. God bless you. Look, I'm not, Mr. Theologian, but I believe in heaven, and I believe all the good people go to heaven. So there's got to be more than just here on earth, and I do believe that. And I know that's what my ultimate goal is in this life, is to get to heaven. I wish you nothing but the best today. Have a great week. We'll see you on Friday. We'll break down the divisional playoff round. Hopefully we'll have more news about our Jaguars. If anything pops, I'll jump on and we'll talk about it. But have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe, be cool, be cool. Stay safe. We'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Peace and love.